Hey folks, this is The Sword and the Pen, and this is my first ever live stream. We're going to be discussing capturing a beloved world in movies and TV shows. But before we get started, I want to go over some of the rules and just let you know what to expect, or at least what I have planned that you could expect for this live stream. Number one, let's keep to a tame PG-13 in the comments. I do want to be able to monetize this video, and that's not something I'm going to be able to do if it's getting too raunchy. I don't have any moderators, but I'll boot you off, or I'll have to blur out the comments if it does get, out of hand. And that's no fun for anybody. So just pretend that your grandma is reading all of your messages, and we should be good to go. Oh, I'm missing my glasses. That's okay, I'm doing this without glasses. So, let's see. Number two, we are free to chat, you guys are free to chat with whoever you want in the chat section. However, depending on how many people show up, I might not be able to keep up with all of them. So if you have something to say directly to me, either a question or a response to something, just be sure to start it with the tag for this channel, which is The Sword and the Pen at The Sword and the Pen Reflections. That way it'll be highlighted and then I can see it. Let's see, the next one, number three, is this is, of course, my first ever live stream. So please let me know if there is any technical issue on your end. I cannot monitor that in my ear and talk because I'm like listening to myself at a delay. So it's all on you guys. Let me know right away and use that channel tag so that I can see it if something like that happens. There's like a 12-second delay, so it might take a moment for me to, at least if you've got high speed internet, I think. So I've opted to manually, this is number 4, I've opted to manually insert ads in my stream so they won't appear out of nowhere. I'm going to do it only 3 times in the middle of this thing. So I've also got my own little advertisement that I'm going to throw in there. So that will happen. And the last thing is the schedule. So this is 2 hours and I've divided it up into 8 segments, 8 topics. And there's going to be a 5-minute break in the middle. So that'll be at the top of the next hour. The first 10 minutes and the last 15 minutes are going to be reserved for open discussion on basically anything. But each of the 6 segments in between are more focused. And I figure like 15 to 20 minutes for each of them. The last one is going to be like a wild card if a new subject comes up that we want to expand on. And, if we go longer than 15 or 20 minutes, like I don't care. I'll just boot the wild card off. Like we'll just see how it goes. I mean, who knows? This might go nothing like how I intend it to go. We'll find out. So the first, I'm going to let you know what they are and then we'll start. So the first segment is a free-for-all. Second segment is what are the elements of a world? The third is why is world building important to the story and to fans? The fourth segment is world building done right in adaptations. So what changes were made? Why was it bad? And what could be done to fix it? I never want to just focus on the negative. I want to try and solve the problem, if it were. Number 5 is world building in an adaptation done right. What are some of the changes that we have seen that have been done right? Like if there was a major change. And we'll discuss honoring the source material versus accuracy. And number 6 is worlds you want to see adapted. And that's pretty self-explanatory. And then, of course, number 7 is the wild card again, where we'll be open to questions from anybody who wants to ask questions. And actually, I think I missed one. I just realized I had a typo in my list. I put it up on the computer at the last minute, and so whatever. Anyway, I say it's time to put all of that to rest and just, move along.
Move along.
Okay, starting out, free-for-all. We're going to go until 15 minutes in, and you guys can let's chat about whatever. I'm going to catch up on this. So first off, we've got, oh my gosh, a bunch of people saying hello. Testing on comments, thank you. Tiki Dale, you're there. Tony Hank, hi. Alan Bird, yay. Savior Elf, morning. Mr. Benair, hope I'm saying that right. Good morning. It's not morning for me, it's afternoon. It's got to be like 110 degrees outside, by the way. That's Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius if somebody wants to convert that. Great elevator music. Thank you, Travis. Winter Rose, good evening from the UK. Hello. I've got quite a few friends over there. I don't know if you've been over to Geeky Old Hog's channel, but I do a podcast with him like every other week. We've been taking a break though, because he's been getting a tan abroad. Team D, well, look who it is. Dude Guy, 07, cheers for the inaugural stream. Too many more. Space is based from Dane. Dude Guy, LOL. Dane Bornhold, there are more people waiting for Amber's stream than ever watch mine. I'm sorry. We'll try to fix that. Go check out Dane Bornhold's channel. Go ahead and put it in the chat there, Dane. Space Oyster. And Dane is pain. Great. Sort of rhymes, but not really. Feels like it, Travis says, feels like it has been forever since we had a Wheel of Prime video. I know, I'm sorry. They take a really long time for me to put together. I think I said it in my video where I announced that I would be doing this, but it's like a week and a... No, it's 2 weeks, sometimes longer, for me, like working full time to get one video out. And that's assuming that I have the time to work full time for 2.5 weeks straight. Which I have a job, and I also have obligations at home. Disparu stopped reviewing it entirely. I saw that, and it was probably a smart move, man. It's exhausting. It's really exhausting. Chirp, chirp, Tony Hank. Oh, the stream starts in 12 more minutes. Oh my gosh, I'm way behind. I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. During the last testing stream, Amber read all her chat, but it might get a bit overwhelming this time. Yeah, it might. Let's try and keep our comments on point. As long as the magic candle makes an appearance, though. It's ignited. There it is. We're streaming about, what's we streaming about tonight? I'm not sure what that meant. Adaptations, yes, capturing a beloved world. I've got all my hot takes locked and loaded. Oh, good, Team D. Hey, Daniel Heron, thank you so much. For those of you guys who don't know, he was one of my first patrons, and he's got a channel as well where he discusses movie soundtracks. You should go check out his channel. Hasn't even started, and she's got one. Great success this stream has been. Oh, yeah. Volume is good compared to the practice stream the other night. Thank you. Took me like 2 days to figure out what was going on with my volume. Hi, Grandma. Hi, Grandma. Don't be nervous. If people say something rated R, we should all spam the letter R to get the comment out of the chat. Yeah, I like that. That's a good plan. Katya says hi. Hello, hello, hello. Oh, another Arizonan. Thank you, Mr. Benair. I hope I'm saying that right. Benair. Evening. All right. Good morning from Korea. Holy moly. Hello. Okay. This thing is updating so fast. It's like skipping around. Evening from Kentucky. Oh, 43 is crazy. I don't think I've been in above 33. Oh, it's Disparu. Hey, how's it going? I love your channel. So if you guys don't know, he's like a huge YouTuber, and he's reviewed I'm sure all of you have been watching my channel for Wheel of Time. I'm sure you've seen his, but he tears it to shreds, but all in good fun. Oh my gosh, the Hogcast is texting me. Good evening from Kentucky. Atomic Age Pictures. All of you guys have Atomic Age Pictures to thank for the lights and the sound in my videos. Like, he's the one who showed me how to do that. And you should check out his channel. He's got some really great, like retro style film that he produces. He's a cinematographer. Okay, so Todd Jackson, you need to do at the Sword and the Pen reflections so that I can see it highlighted. How far along are you now in reading Wheel of Time? I am on book 4. I paused during the last 6 months while I was doing Avatar, and I was just, catching up on. Well, I was trying to catch up, and then I got sick and I fell behind. So I went back like about a month ago, and I kind of skimmed through the first 3 books, especially the second one and third one. And I'm starting this one over. So I really have only gotten a couple chapters in my restart, but I'll hopefully be able to fly through it now that I'm not going to spend so much time on here editing, which is the bane of my world. Go watch White Cloaks for Pips and Alex. Hey, bloke. Oh, that's to Disparu. Savior Elf. Ahoy. Hello from Brazil. Thank you for streaming. You're welcome, LPK. Hello from... Oh, I already read... Oh my gosh, when this thing updates, it just drives me crazy. Oh my gosh. Let's see. You're doing God's work with... Oh, that must be meant to Disparu. Yeah, I've heard about Doctor Who. I'm not a Doctor Who fan, but I did watch The Acolyte. It was shocking. Disparu, they dropped 3 of the episodes while I was at a London meetup. Okay, I'm going to skip a few and just look at the ones that are meant for me. Trip is saying hi. K.A., thank you. Says, what? It's that lady named Amber. I think I saw her on Discord. Anyway, glad we made it to the first stream. Woohoo! I'm glad you made it too. Thank you so much. And then we've got Robert. Now, am I supposed to say Caboose? Or is it Cabus? I don't know if that's a last name or if you're being clever. As far as the Wheel of Prime goes, I'm not even sure where they'll go in the next season. Neither am I. It can't follow the books even in the slightest anymore. And it really surprised me because they've only covered the first 2-ish books. Like, you've got 2 seasons out and you've only covered 2 books. And I know if that's what we would love to see, but then we'd need 14 seasons, which there's no way they're going to do 14 seasons. But I was surprised that they didn't compress more and try to crunch it more. They really dragged in that second season. Shy, celebrate their fifth. Oh, yay. Tiki Dale, love how the Wheel of Time show repurposed the Trojan army armor from Troy. It did? I didn't know that. Well, that's actually, I approve of that. If you're going to reuse, like I know that Narnia reused a lot of the costumes from the Lord of the Rings because Weta was involved in Narnia, the Disney Narnia, the first one. Love how, blah, 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 blah. I guess despite the money they put into the show, makes sense that the old costumes. Yep. Skipping ahead. Somebody's acknowledging Hog. He just announced that he has a baby. Or not a baby, but grandbaby. So hopefully that all went well. I haven't hit the slog yet. No, I haven't. I know all about it, but you know what? I love, I know it's got some controversy, but I love the Name of the Wind, so it might not feel sluggish to me if it's nicely done. The third law, can the third law be adapted? I thought I heard it is. Let's see. We got one more minute in here. I'm going to jump ahead, make sure I'm all caught up. Acolyte has the best world building ever. Praetorix. Praetorzen. I'm not sure how to say that. You can call me Zin. Okay, thank you. Can't wait for you to get to Knife of Dreams and the Sanderlank. Sanderlank? Is that how you say that? Best 4 books in the series, in my opinion. Okay, skipping ahead a little bit. First questions, Amber's most beloved fictional world. I've already put out a video on the Sword and the Pen channel where I explain what happens to me when people ask what is my favorite anything when it comes to stories. It's like almost anxiety comes up because I want to tell you like 10 different stories that I love, and I couldn't tell you which one is my favorite. But I hope to retire in Hobbiton someday. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move us into the next segment before we get too caught up in just doing this forever. So,
move along. Move along.
Okay, so the first subject of discussion we're going to be looking at is what are the elements of a world? And this is kind of just a review that I want to do of what goes into making a world. And we're going to do that actually we're going to take a look at one segment of a video that I did where I, first of all, cover all of them just very briefly. So first we need to move over to my Firefox view. And this is where I talk about it. This is from my discussing faithful adaptation video. So we'll just watch that real quick. What are the areas of an IP I believe? I forgot I have to mute myself. Information is in the description and below. What are the areas of an IP I believe should be considered for developing a faithful adaptation? Well, you've heard me say it in this video already a few times. World building, characters, major plot points, tone, and themes. World building would encompass geography, which will include like the natural laws of the world, culture, which would be like the social, economic, religious, governmental layout and structure of the world, the history of the people in this world, or if there's major natural events that happened, like in the Wheel of Time, the whole world basically getting pretty much destroyed and then having to come back again. And lastly, the magic system, if it's a fantasy. If it's a science fiction, I would say the technological abilities and capabilities, and those are two separate things. The things that they're actually doing and the things that they actually could do. With character. Okay, so I think that's just a good little overview of, in my book, those are the elements that you want to make sure you really focus on and give some special attention when you're adapting. And if you're going to change anything in any one of those parts, you got to be careful because change something in one of them and it could affect everything else. So I just want to open it up to some discussion on the different elements of world building or of worlds in fantasy, especially. I'm going to read through what you guys have been saying here. So we got, I think I've gotten down to here. Okay, I'm not sure how to pronounce that last name, Cabus. Cabus? I think it's probably Cabus. Tiki Dale, which book series would you like? Oh, we're going to skip ahead. What are your opinion on adapting video games into stories based mostly off just the world? We'll discuss that at the end of this. Let's see. I have been to New Zealand, by the way. I was there for like 3 weeks, but I was sick for 21 days. I landed and was in the hospital the next day. So great. It was so much fun. When Rafe Judkins does God of War, more people will understand the pain. Oh, yeah, I think. I got to wonder how much control he had over this whole project, because it's big. And yes, he's the overseer, but the more I'm learning about what goes on behind the scenes, there are so many people who are trying to affect what's happening. And I think that's why we often see what looks like a big mess where a bunch of different ideas were attempted and it doesn't feel cohesive all the way through. I think it's because there are so many people at a high level saying, we got to change this. And then just like what we talked about with world building, any one of these elements you change and it can completely derail other important things in your story. So congrats on your grandbaby. Watching Amber has gotten meta. This has gotten meta. I don't know what that means. I'm not up on all the lingo. Talk about falling upwards. And yeah, it was so disheartening. They should never have tried to adapt the books. They should have created a novel story based on the Trolloc Wars or something. A woman is always muted and never muted. Read the original Judkins script from episode 1 of Wheel of Time, though. Somebody sent it to me, and I think I skimmed through it, or I just read segments of it, but I didn't get to look at it completely. But I guess we're gonna skip this first topic. Looks like people just kind of want to keep discussing the Wheel of Time, but I'd love to have your guys' thoughts on certain elements of a world that if there's anything that you feel like it's so important to the story. So my focus is geography, history, culture, magic system, and technology. And magic system and technology are kind of interchangeable if you're talking about science fiction or you're talking about fantasy. But each one of these things gives your world a very specific flavor. And every one of them is going to be dependent on the other. The geography is going to affect the history of your world, of all the different peoples and their cultures. If you've got people living, or living at the base of the volcano in Avatar in the animation, it eventually erupts and it ends up killing off the avatar before our main avatar, and that sort of propels the Fire Nation into their mission of world domination. So, making any changes to a world, even just the geography, which seems like the most superficial out of everything, it can have an effect on what you do. Also, just looking at Avatar again, you change the geography where places are or things that have happened or what the world looks like. Let's say you're looking at the animals. It's going to feel like it's not the Avatar world if you're not doing like the combo animals, like if they just had the regular ones, which they did have regular references to regular animals in the animation. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Save yourself. Thank you. That is a big super chat there. I'm going to go ahead and jump up to the next highlighted one. The thing I like with world building is explaining what is different from this world. Yeah, and especially in fantasy and science fiction, I think that's part of the charm of it, is that we're kind of bleeding into the next subject, just so you know. We read, at least I read, for escapism. And I want to feel fully immersed in whatever world this is that my character is journeying through or inhabiting. And if it feels exactly like this one, obviously there's nothing special about it. This is one of the reasons I actually really appreciate Harry Potter, you'll notice that once Harry has gone into the wizarding world, there is something magical happening on almost every page. It is there's something. That's why I think people love it so much, is that it's a nonstop immersion in the fact that this is a magical world, not just a fantasy with a wizard school where they learn magic. Like, what's it called? Tales of Earthsea. Not Tales of Earthsea. That was the Ghibli, the Earthsea saga, the one where Ged goes to the school. That's a comparison. So a lot of people compare the Harry Potter series to the Earthsea school, and I would say that Harry Potter felt more magical in the school setting itself. And it had a lot of the same kind of, rivalry between students and teachers that were awesome, teachers that were less awesome. That kind of stuff was all going on. But I think Harry Potter nailed it by making the school itself really, really magical. Not just a barrier that protects it, but the things in the school are magical. The paintings are alive, etc. Let's see here. What do we got? I got to read your Save Yourself super chat. So I got distracted for a second there. Most streamers have difficulty keeping up with the white noise of even a reasonable number of people in chat. Don't stress, and it's save yourself. But the elf thing is cute. Oh my gosh, did I say save your elf? I'm sorry. Congrats on your first stream. Thank you. And gosh, thank you so much. Very, very generous. Let's see. How do you make a good world? Change one thing from the existing world, or do you try to change everything? Well, often if you change one thing, it's going to create sort of a chain reaction where you realize, all right, if, what's it called? Well, I'll just bring up Avatar again because I'm just thinking about it right now. But they have the hawks in season 2 and 3. I think they have it briefly in season 1, where they can deliver messages for you. I mean, you can tell a bird, go there, and it'll go there. And that means that information is going to be slow traveling from one place to another. So if what's it called? It's not Ba Sing Se. What's the name of the city that Boomy lives in? It's not Ba Sing. Oh my gosh, the name is escaping me right now. Omashu. When Omashu is taken over, it seems like the rest of the world was unaware of it. We went in season 2 straight from the Northern Water Tribe down to Omashu, and the gang was surprised that it had been invaded and taken over by the Fire Nation. And it was a big shock to everybody that was watching. So information has to travel slow. But let's say you had something like what I would love to have the Avatar series do, which is seismic telegraphing in the Earth Kingdom. Like a big stone that is pounded against another stone on the ground, and it sends a seismic wave all the way to the next city, and then they can pick it up on a bell that rings or something like that, like maybe a small gong that has a little sound to it, and then they can take down, the Morse code or whatever. If that was the case, they could send messages super, super fast. But, the speed of information being exchanged has a huge effect on everything. You could literally have an army wipe out an entire country, and the rest of the world doesn't know it for weeks, depending on where this country is located and if there's no way to communicate that information out sooner. Let's see. The thing I like with world building is explaining what is different from... Oh, we already read that. Maybe a weird comment to put up here, but I think the reason anime continues to gain more attention is because they're unapologetic about the world they present to the audience. Yeah, I think that's part of it. Also, I think just fully diving into it, we talk about this on the Geeky Old Hog quite a bit, where we love it when a world is taken and the adaptation just goes with it. Just no explanation given, just says we're going totally into this. Like One Piece did it really well, where you've got some really bizarre world elements in that show, and they didn't explain everything. They just went for it. They did such a great job on that show. Wheel of Time would have worked much better as an animated series, probably. Secret Tunnel. Sorry, was cleaning up after Super. I think your elements are solid. It's ironic that Wheel of Time books are excellent exemplars and the Wheel of Time show is one of the worst. It is very sad. I'm going to jump down to the next highlighted one. Well, on Avatar as an adaptation from animated to live action, there is somewhat of an expectation to follow real world rules more with technology. Yeah, I think so. I think that, sorry, my chat keeps jumping around. It's odd because it's fantasy, and then there's, fantasy and science fiction. There is an expectation on the part of the audience that you're going to follow certain rules, but they are the rules that you set in place as the writer. You don't want to have a bunch of loopholes in your magic system or, have technology that later on in the story, you're like, well, wait, why didn't they just do this thing? Like why didn't we fly the eagles to Mordor? That was a big one. Everybody always brings that one up. It's funny. Even Tolkien was like, shut up. I don't know if you know that, but he kind of was like, whatever. I don't care. Supposedly there's a reason, like, for why the eagles couldn't have been flown to Mordor. I don't buy it. I think he invented that afterwards when people pointed it out and he was like, oh. Aquaman, $25. Thanks for the 5-hour energy drink. Hey, and that buys me 10 right there. $25 gets me 10 extra strength, 5-hour energies. If we were talking Wheel of Time, the first thing that wrecked it was playing with the idea that either a woman or a man could be the one Moiraine is looking for. Yeah, no kidding. We're going to get into that. Pink Peonies, $50. Well, 49. Holy moly. Thank you. Yeah, it is $50. It shows up as $49.99. That's odd. Thank you so much. I love the little animation. Got a little rocket going on there. I would love to see the SpaceX rocket. What's the big one that they're shooting off? I want to be present when that goes up. Have you seen how massive that thing is? All right, what's your thoughts about Discworld with its parody of the real world? Okay, I gotta come clean here. I have not read Discworld. I know exactly what it is. I know the style that it is written in. It's just not been super high on my list of priorities. I'm such an old world epic fantasy type of person that's what I gravitate to first. That will usually jump to the top of my list. But every once in a while, I get the bug and I need something fun, something funny, a little Douglas Adams or Terry Pratchett in that case. Taters! You retracted your message? What did you say? Taters is from the Geeky Old Hog, folks. Netflix should really hire you to work on Avatar. I love your ideas. Thank you. I would love to work on Avatar. I would love to work on any fantasy or science fiction, especially if it's meant for like a wide audience. I would love to work on them. I feel like there are so many times I see lately in streamed shows where I'm like, oh, just a little tweaking could have made it so smooth. Avatar, for example, I felt like it was mostly small problems, but enough of them that it was just, we'll get into it. Like, I actually liked it. I just didn't think that it was as bad as people thought. I wouldn't have watched Wheel of Time as an anime. Don't watch animation. Okay. Katya, thank you. $4. What's the hippo? I know Katya in real life. Let's see, jumping down. Okay, we're almost ready to move into our next segment. SpaceX live streams their launches. Yeah, but I want to be there. I want to be present. Taters, testing out the thing. Hey, well, it's late, but Taters, you're up really late. So thank you just for being here. Hog is a granddad, baby boy. Oh, congratulations, Hog. That is so awesome. I hope everything went well with them. Okay, I think though it's time to move on to our first segment, which second segment, we've kind of already done it. We just didn't really we've already started, so that's what I'm gonna say.
Move along.
Okay, so the next segment. Why is world building important to story and to fans? And as I said, this is basically just continuing what we talked about in that first little bit there. I think that it's underestimated how much the world affects every other part of the story. So we're talking about just story here first. If you've got, like in Wheel of Time, one of the first major world changes in the adaptation was that there wasn't an explanation of there being two different parts of the magic, where one is male and one is female, and one can only be wielded by women, the other can only be wielded by men. And then, of course, as somebody pointed out in the comments, the bit about the dragon will always be male. I mean, there's different methods for using the magic, and the male side has been tainted. So if I had not read the book, when I read it simultaneously while viewing the show, if I was unaware of what's actually going on in the book, I would have assumed from the show that there is one source of magic, and for some reason, men make it corrupt when they try to use it. But that's not what's going on at all. The male side of the magic has been corrupted, and that's why men can't use it. It's not like they poisoned it. But it was misleading in the beginning, not explaining all of this. So now there's this big misunderstanding. And then, of course, the fact that it could be a girl or a boy, it to me, I felt like they just wanted to expand, like, you know, who it could possibly be. The only thing is like, if it was a girl, it takes away a lot of the danger of what would have happened or it takes away a lot of the danger of when the next dragon appears. Because if it's going to be a man and the male side of the magic is tainted, it pretty much means he's going to go insane. Like, he's the guy who can save the world or destroy the world is going to go mad, and he could literally wipe out all of existence. At least that's my understanding of what he can do. Again, remember, those of you who don't know, I have not read the entire series. I'm only on book 4. And I'm basically only about a third through, but that was 6 months ago. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to get to some of the comments. Anybody? Oh, yeah. But so why is it important to the story? It's important because, at least in that instance, you've taken away the danger of who the dragon is. I mean, obviously, it ends up being Rand in the show, like it was in the book, but I see why they changed it. I just think it was bad because right from the beginning, there's the possibility that it could be a woman. They could kill Rand and then wait for them to be born as a woman, and then everything would be okay because she would not go insane. She would have a better chance at being able to, you know, do something intentional with the one power. Why is world building important to fans? And I think this has a lot to do with the immersion, feeling like it's a familiar world. If we were shown a world that is totally not doing what we were expecting, that can be very frustrating because for me, I enjoy adaptations if they're done well, and it's even if there's little mistakes, I'll usually forgive them. But if you're going to change the world in your adaptation, that's just so dangerous. It can make it feel like you're not in the same universe, and I have a feeling that's what a lot of the Wheel of Time people are experiencing in that. Let's see. I think I might have missed a few highlighted texts. Nope. Okay. Netflix could have used your advice on Witcher. What a pile of poo that ended up being. So I'm not familiar with the Witcher source material. It's not my jam usually, but I watched the first season and I just have to say it didn't have what I wanted, but I was like, nah, I felt kind of bored. I'm not saying that it's a boring show or that it's a boring source, like the game and the books, because I don't know. But the show for me, just because it wasn't the things that I enjoy seeing on screen, I was bored because I was waiting for things that I wanted to see and they never came. But I heard that there was a lot going on behind the scenes. I'm sure all of you guys have heard that the writers in the writer room who were writing scripts for The Witcher did not actually like the protagonist of the books and the games. And that's just a recipe for disaster. Oh, I need to stick an ad in here. How do I do that? I had it all figured out earlier. Oh, I do it like this. Okay, supposedly an ad has been inserted. We'll find out, I suppose. Let's see. The unfortunate thing about Wheel of Prime is that the gender essentialism of the Wheel of Time offended them. I thought off-ended. Yeah, I don't know about offense. Like, I can't ever decide or know what people are thinking, but I definitely know that there's pressure in Hollywood to not ascribe to traditional understandings of gender and sex. La 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 la. I think they could have established that so much knowledge had been lost since the AOL that people don't know how the One Power works anymore. Oh, the Age of Legends. That's the first time I'm seeing that acronym, and I'm pretty sure I got it right. Acronym, whatever, you know what I meant. It ended up being Rand, but they ended up making Rand not Rand. Yeah, that was unfortunate. Part of the problem is that Who is the Dragon wasn't the core story arc of Eye of the World, which led to them changing fundamental lore of the series. Yeah, I don't think Witcher is as bad as people make it out to be. I wouldn't call it good, but it's not unwatchable. Yeah, I don't think, but I only saw the first season. I liked what it set up. It wasn't my world that I, am like, oh yes, I want to see that. I think I wanted more of Geralt because, well, Henry. Or sure, Sure, 20 bucks, thank you. Have I seen Sanderson discussing Wheel of Prime being written and shot in old world TV style? Each episode writer gets where characters need to start, whether they need to be at the end. Oh, you're writing old world style. Whether they need to be at the end and key points to hit. No single vision. Yeah, this was something I wanted to talk about with the way shows are made today. It's a big problem. I did see that video with Brandon Sanderson. You can't do that with a continuous story like this. Okay, so I love Star Trek: The Next Generation, and there were different writers for each of those episodes as well, but it worked because it was episodic. However, they all kept abreast of what the continuing character arcs were. For instance, when Jean-Luc Picard is taken by the Borg and altered, and he kills a bunch of people, his own team, basically, he's affected by that going forward. And so there are references to it. There are times when it's a big point of drama in the show, but each story is episodic. Each story is on its own little story. And doing something like Wheel of Time, you can't do that. Everyone's trying to emulate Game of Thrones, and in the early seasons especially, they didn't do it that way. It was a continuous story in Game of Thrones. I have no idea if there were, independent writers for each one of the episodes, but they did a good job of saying, okay, this is a continuous arc for each character. Like, I never once felt like Arya was out of character. I never once felt like Daenerys, her growth wasn't consistent and always moving in the same, the right direction until those last two seasons. Well, really the last half of the last season where she just went off a cliff. But let's see. What is Google? Never heard of them. I think my ad blocker has defeated it. Witcher Blood Origins was like an acid trip compared to the Cavill series. I only watched little bits of Origins and I was like, nah, I don't care. When a reader doesn't, you know what it reminded me of? So I used to watch the Sci-Fi Channel like back in the 90s and the early 2000s, and it reminded me just of the little bits that I see of something I would have seen on the Sci-Fi Channel, but not the good stuff. It's very sad. But one of those obscure shows that I'm like, oh, there's so much sci-fi and fantasy on this channel, I'm never going to watch it all. There's that one that I didn't watch. When a reader doesn't fully understand the world, it naturally heightens their awareness and draws them into the story all the more. It's up to the characters to catch us up, and we willingly follow. Nice observation and like how to craft that world through the characters. I didn't find Blood Origins too bad. It was like a fantasy B movie. There you go. Over time, you get less of Henry. He's nearly entirely removed from this last season. Well, he's been removed completely, right? Now, don't we get a new Geralt, whatever his name is? Do you think having so many writers with each one or a team writing different episodes is detrimental to continuity? I think I'm falling behind on the messages. I think we've kind of covered that trip. But having many writers, I think, is fine if they can all stay in the same room together. And I mean that pretty literally. You know, if you're going to be writing an episode and you're all doing it as a team, but like one person is in charge of the finalization of, you know, the drafting and then the finalizing. Here's how it should be. It should be that they're all writing together, coming up with those points and, you know, the key things, and bits of a character arc that we're going to throw in there, how we want a certain character to act. That is stuff that everybody needs to discuss together so that they're all fully aware of the impact of those things. Gosh, we're getting into characters instead. Fully aware of those things when they're writing their particular episode. And then they draft the one episode, right? But then they all have to come together again and do a read through of the entire thing. Just read it out. Have somebody sit there and read every line, just like they're doing a table read of the script, and see if everything sounds like each character. If it was up to me, I would even have the lines of each character read at, one right after another, like all of Arya's lines, all of Daenerys' lines. You get the idea. All of Jon Snow's lines. Make sure that it's in the right voice. Make sure that we're really pointing out, something in their character that's important in that particular scene. And then one final overseer. Like, you could do that as, separate people, but they have to be able to come together and do that at the end. And if they can't, then yes, you need somebody who is the final word on everything. And they're there from the beginning all the way to the end of creating the script. And in that case, the burden is on them to make sure that it's doing everything that it needs to do. That's a lot of work. But if you got like a team of like 5 people who all know the story and the world so well, why not have all of them working together as a team? I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Okay. Will you appreciate those low budget Cyclops movies on Sci-Fi? You know what? I liked, what was it? Krull. That's got a Cyclops in there. I always felt so bad for him. I have watched some Orville. It's decent. I like the Orville. It's actually the most next generation-y show since the Next Generation, I think. Everything else got too dark for me. The death of the Sci-Fi Channel occurred when it became Sci-Fi. I think we're going way past. Oh, we're just about the end of this. I want to move us quickly to the next subject before I forget.
Move along. Move along.
All right, I guess you know what? This is literally just me going over like what we could talk about, but we don't necessarily have to talk about it. World building done wrong. Obviously, we've already been talking about this sort of. I'm skipping why is world important because I think we've already done that. What changes were made? Why was it bad? And what could be done to fix it? To me, this is the most interesting thing to do with what I watch. Like, this is what my channel is about. I don't want to just watch a show and say, this was wrong, this was bad, and, I can explain why. But I also want to try to brainstorm what could they have done to fix it. Half the time I'm just saying just follow the source material. But sometimes changes have to be made, and you can see where they're like, okay, we had to change this. Like, okay, for example, in Dune, spoilers for Dune 2, okay? Just letting you know, Dune the movie. Paul's sister, is born in the second half of the novel, and she speaks with the voice of an adult. Not the literal voice, but she speaks with the intelligence and awareness of an adult. It's very bizarre. It's very off-putting. The David Lynch film did it. I think it was a good choice to not have that happen. And they managed to do something that kind of kept the idea of there being something very, very special about this baby, and that she was able to have sort of telepathic discussions with her mother while she's in the womb. So every once in a while, the camera would go into the womb and we would have discussions with the sister in the womb. And well, we didn't really hear her voice at that point, but we heard the mother saying she's saying this. And then in a vision sequence, we actually did briefly meet the sister. I think that was a really good change to make, because I felt like what was done in the book would not have translated well on screen. It would have been kind of laughable. We would have been like, and also, how do you find a kid who can act well enough to be like an adult and they're like 2 or 3 or however old she was supposed to be? So I liked that. But every once in a while, you can see that it looks like there was a change. Somebody was trying to make a change and they did it for maybe the right reason, but it didn't quite go, it didn't come out right. And I always want to, like, what could we do to tweak their idea so that it does go right? Like in Avatar, just the first episode, the escape scene when Aang escapes the Zuko's ship. And I rewrote that scene because I felt like just a few little tiny tweaks would take away what a lot of people had difficulty with, which was Katara being able to waterbend from so high up in the air. And I had an issue with that as well. Because if she's a beginner, you know, you can excuse it away, but, and you can say, well, it was a moment of panic. You know, she was able to waterbend a great amount because it was just like, it was one of those rare one moment things. But it would have been better if she didn't do that. So we really see growth. So it doesn't look like she did something spectacular. And then later she does something less spectacular and we're going, wow, that was amazing. We saw her grow to that. And we're like, well, she already did something that cool. Do you think having so many oh, I already read that one. I got to catch up on these notes. Okay, Shy. So there are, just so folks who are new in here, if you tag me, my channel, at The Sword and the Pen Reflections, it will highlight your message to me and I can see it. I'm going to start just reading those if I get overwhelmed with the messages. Shy says, so there are adaptations that aren't faithful, like Bly Manor or any Disney classic, but can be argued changed for the better. What would you say is the difference? Okay, so if a story can stand on its own, despite whatever has taken its inspiration from, I think that's great. As long as it's clear that this was, you know, if it's really far removed from the source material, just be, you know, this was not intended to represent the source material. It was inspired by it. Like a lot of people criticize Pocahontas because it's not historically accurate, the Disney animation. I love it because on its own, it's a great animation. It's an epic, well, it's a romance between divided. It's basically Romeo and Juliet where nobody dies at the end, except Coco. But I thought that it stands on its own very well, and it's not, I don't think it was ever intended to be accurate. And I think when people criticize it for being accurate, they're missing the whole point of what these Disney animations are. It is fantasy. Disney animation is fantasy. It's not historical retelling. So I think that's what, let's see, what would you say is the difference between, adaptations that aren't faithful but are changed for the better? And I wouldn't even say that, you know, it's changed for the better. It's just different. It's always hard to judge what's better or what's not unless it is attempting to be a real adaptation where it's like they're being faithful to the source material. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, if it's trying to be a faithful adaptation where everything is pretty close, but we can see little changes were made and we can decide, was that really good or was that really bad? For instance, in Shadow and Bone, which is one of the first series that I looked at, I'm not into young adult romance, but reading the book, it was painful because Mal, the main guy, like the love interest man, he was a real, you know, I want to say a bad word. But I'm going to try and keep this video monetized. He was not a good love interest. Like I could see him being very, in some ways, abusive psychologically in that story. And when they did the adaptation, they took that out and made him more likable. And actually the writer, I can't remember her name, but she was part of that. And it was like an opportunity for her to fix something that she had grown past. You know, when she was first writing this novel, she was new to the world, and she was just writing stuff like that, you know, she probably thought of when she was a young woman reading, you know, teen fantasy, young adult novel, young adult romance. And she made it more grown up. She made it more like nobody would go for a guy like this, or if we did, we would look down on it as saying, well, it's a bad relationship and it's supposed to be a good one. But, you know, teenagers would be like, oh, he's so dark and mysterious, like, you know, vampire Edward guy or whatever. Have you ever considered writing your own book series? I actually have, but I haven't published anything. I'm too critical of myself. I have one finished novel, but at least the first draft is done. Actually, it's like a couple drafts, but either way, I wrote a novella in 2006, and did not do anything with it. Then I came back to it in 2016, 2017, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I rewrote it as a novel. And it's a sci-fi, but by the time I finished my draft one, I realized I can't try to publish this now because it would be too controversial. So there are adaptations that aren't, like it wouldn't sell. Nobody would pick it up. It was like a rich white kid joins a group of terrorists, and he's the hero, and the terrorists are the hero. So even though they do bad things, I was like, probably nobody's going to pick this up. How to Train Your Dragon, the film's TV show, is completely different from the books, but they both work in their respective media. That's an excellent point, Winter Rose. I know my nephew loves How to Train Your Dragon, and it's basically just like, it's the How to Train Your Dragon book where, what's his name? Hiccup had written, you know, where it's got all the notes on like what they like and, you know, what they look like, and just, it's almost like, you know, an anatomy of dragons kind of book. And they took that and built an entire world around it. And I thought that was fantastic. And taking those kinds of liberties, I think, really freed them up. It didn't restrict them to following a world. And whoever did it was smart enough to say, we just have to make sure that we capture the spirit of this book. And I think from the comedic designs of the dragons and the goofiness of it all, it was very clear what the world is that these dragons are from. Let's see. In any other... Okay, somebody else is talking there. Oh my goodness. Can we talk about how the Willow show completely failed on creating the original world from the Willow movie? I'm so depressed about that because I thought that the Willow world was fantastic. I had not seen another world in the movie. The Willow movie world is spectacular, and it's so underused. Or this particular type of world where, you know, it's given a redefinition to what things look like. Like the trolls don't look like what everybody has thought trolls are supposed to look like. It's basically just a guy in like a hairy suit. Magic is, even when it's in the right hands, can do horrific things, and it's not always pleasant. I liked that, and I loved the heart that was in that story. There was so much missing from the adaptation. It's really quite sad. They had such an opportunity, and they just... Foundation was done wrong, but not the world building. So the world building was... I haven't seen that one. I want to see it. I know it's on Apple. I don't have that. Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I just lost all the text. Somebody said that I try to fix everything. Thank you. A lot more time passes in the Dune books. Paul is with the Fremen for years. Yeah, that's true. And he has a son. So much. Oh, thank you, Tony Hank. Summit. Spoilers. Oh no, did I give spoilers? I thought I gave warnings about spoilers. Land will single-handedly save Redland from deforestation. I don't know what that means because I haven't gotten to that part, I'm guessing. If the leaves in the blight start... Okay, I gotta skip. These are things not meant for me, I think. That actually reminds me of adaptations adaptations changed by the writers themselves, like with Percy Jackson. Is that what happened? I don't know a whole lot about Percy Jackson, but was the original writer actually involved in that? The show captures the most interesting aspects of the comics while cutting down on the nastiness and mean-spiritedness. I'm somehow this skipped again. I just read 2 messages thinking they were one. The Boys show is very different from the comic, and it's way better. The show captures the most interesting aspects of the comics while cutting down on the nastiness and mean-spiritedness. Jesus, the comics are even more mean-spirited. I like a good variety in my stories. I like dark, mysterious, evil girls that cut out hearts. Okie dokie. Do you like Wednesday? It's kind of like the lighthearted version of that, I guess. I think Interview with the Vampire TV show really captures the spirit of what Anne Rice wanted, but couldn't fully convey. I haven't seen it. I actually like Interview with a Vampire. I should check it out. I mean, I like the book. Troll Hunters is also good. I have not seen that one. I saw Troll Hunter, the movie. I liked that. That was funny. And yet people love Dexter. The anti-hero can be quite successful. See The Boys. Was I talking about the anti-hero? I mean, I like the anti-hero. I mean, as long as your character is done well, I'm usually pretty happy. No, Willow. Yeah. Rest in peace, Willow. Yeah, no kidding. I'm refusing to watch the Willow series. You can't anyway, it's gone. Disney has wiped it from existence. Disparu says, Willow's best series of 2022. Well, it launched my YouTube career, so not that it's a career, it's a hobby. I believe so. Rick Riordan had an active hand in a lot of changes made. Oh, okay. Remember, if you're saying something to me, highlight it so I don't accidentally miss it. But you highlight it by including the tag at the Sword and the Pen Reflections. Bro, they pulled out a flamethrower out of nowhere. Yes, that was horrible. What? It was so weird. Like, where was that thing the whole time? Anne Rice wanted only the most beautiful vampires. Well, sometimes you write because you want to be in what you're writing. And I would love to be around a bunch of beautiful, immortal men who are dripping with sex. The Tick is unique in that it's been adapted 3 times over the decades, and the original creator was the lead creative on all 3. The Tick? I don't know why that's not ringing a bell. I just watched Glitch sometime last year. I liked that. That was an Australian show. It kind of dragged on, but it never did what I thought it was going to do. It did the things that I wanted it to do, but kept me kind of on my toes. Irrespective of the property being adapted, if your writers don't appreciate it and or begin from an adversarial stance towards the original fan base, it will I don't know what LA is. Land awkwardly? Walter Mitty was a book at first, I believe. Film as fantastic. Yeah, okay. Walter Mitty, I think, yeah, it is a book. It's been adapted at least once before with Danny Kaye. I love that movie. But I really liked... So both of them did not follow the book exactly, or closely even. The most recent one with, what's his name? Ben Stiller, who stepped in to save the production when it was about to fall apart. And he's like, no, we're going to use film. We're not going to use a digital camera. We want this to look like a National Geographic, like old school National Geographic, with just beautiful landscapes. And he did it. He did it so well. And it was fun, and it had good spirit and excellent heart. I loved that movie. It's kind of one of my escape movies. Feel-good escape movies. Willow kept it in his prison pocket. How about when the adaptation decides they can write the story better than the original author, like the adaptations of Narnia, when Susan has a romance, didn't fit Lewis's intent at all. Oh, no kidding. At least not supposed to be in that world. But Susan is seduced in the original series. She is seduced by the worldly ways of the world. I didn't think it was. I mean, if Narnia is not supposed to be heaven, but kind of thinking about her not being allowed to return to Narnia ever again is because she chose, to not. She basically chose to reject Narnia. That was probably more accurate. I didn't like that because I was like, what is she doing that's so bad? She just wanted to be part of the world more. But it wasn't because it's a kid's story. I don't think they go into it. But maybe it's implied that she just kind of went wild. I don't know. It's been so long since I've read Narnia, the whole complete series, which you can get through super fast if you've never read it. Like, just go for it. Hey, thank you, Sizer, $10. What would you say if Wheel of Time came and asked you to help them fix the next season? I'd tell them, I can't. I'd tell them I can't help you. I can help you with little scene. Like they've set up so much that has just completely derailed what the original source material is trying to do. I might tell them, actually, no. If I could, here's what I would do. I would do for the start of season 3, what they did at the start of season 2 is I would say you have to pretend that season 1 did not happen. Just pretend it didn't happen and start fresh but I would tell them like, let's look at I'm not even done with the series, but I can tell they've derailed major things. I'd say you can't do that especially this early in the story. The consequences further down the road, like the further down you get, are going to get even bigger and bigger and bigger. So I would tell them like, let's go back to the book, make sure that we're going to follow it so we can end in the same place that the books end. So that way the people who want to see an adaptation of the book that they love will be satisfied. But yeah, I would tell them we just have to start season 3. And even if that means changing characters, like Moraine is not, at least for me, in the first 4 books, she's not as unlikable as she is in the show. In the show, I can't stand her. I can't stand most of the Wheel of Time gang. Perrin is whiny. So is Egwene now. I mean, Elaine is the only one that I'm really enjoying at this point. And I'm sure that they're going to ruin her, I'm guessing, because whoever decided to change all the other characters is now in charge of her. And I'm going, at least she added some variety to the dynamic of the gang. Willow was all about the milk. Oh, that was so disgusting. I don't know why they did that. Skipping ahead, every adaptation I've ever seen feels as it's a half-assed representation of the source material. Would you believe you're halfway through the 2 hours? I am, and I didn't do any of, I should do an advertisement before we go. We're going to take a 5-minute break here in a second. Let me get to the end of these comments. The Tick is a satirical superhero comedy in the 90s. There was a cartoon, a sitcom, and an Amazon series. All good, all spearheaded by the comic's original writer. What's your thoughts on Stardust, the book versus the film? I've read the book and I've watched the movie, and it's been a while, but I just remember being shocked that there were so many differences. I also remember enjoying the movie more. I don't know if I'm alone in that. I've never looked up what the fan base of Neil Gaiman, is it Gaiman or Gaiman? I've always said Gaiman, but I think it's Gaiman. I don't know what people think of Stardust, the movie, but I would watch that again. I remember thinking, I've read Stardust once. I don't need to read it again. Thoughts on Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or the new Wonka? You're asking the wrong person. I am not a fan of Willy Wonka. My family loves the Tim Burton Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp one. But mainly it's because they like the way he hates all the kids. So obviously he played that up way more than Gene Wilder did, I think. You can see the disdain through his toothy smile. I don't think Wheel of Prime is fixable, and I wouldn't want my name attached to it. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to read a couple more comments, and then we're going to take a 5-minute break. I need to go get some water, and I need to breathe for a second because I'll be dying here. I'm convinced Moraine in the show is Black Aja propping up a false dragon, violating the 3 oaths at will, and faking prophecies. Probably. Stardust is good. De Niro is fantastic as the gay ship captain. Yes, I loved it. Is he gay or is he just a cross-dresser? One of my favorite scenes of all time. hi, will you continue to review books in your other channel? So my other channel was supposed to be where I had like video essays and things, where I put a lot of work into my videos. And this one, The Sword and the Pen Reflections, was supposed to be my fun, no work involved. That lasted all of like 2 seconds. I wanted to like jumpstart this channel so people would actually watch it. I have a really humongous Full Metal Alchemist 2003 video that I am dying to put up on the other channel, but copyright blocks are an issue. I think I can fix those now, though, that I've gained some knowledge in how to get around that. Also, it's not monetized yet. I want that channel to be monetized before I put that video up. Okay, one more. Thoughts on the new Hunt for Gollum movie? I do not know. I have no idea what Andy Serkis has directed also. And so if he's a great director, and if Peter Jackson is not being, lorded over by Warner Brothers or whoever it is that's doing this, I say go for it and let's see how it comes out. But I have no idea. I have literally no thoughts on the matter. I'm guessing it's going to be called A Hunt for Gollum, but it's not a Gollum movie. It is a movie of probably Aragorn hunting down Gollum, but we'll see. So anyway, we're going to take a pause for just a minute and do a quick little break because I do need to go and breathe for just a few seconds. My voice and my strength are still, kind of down there at the moment. But anyway, so just quick pause. We'll be back in exactly 5 minutes. If you don't want to go anywhere, that's fine. I have prepared some mild entertainment that will pop up about every minute or so. So be right back.
Hot stones to keep your bed warm here.
Hot stones?
He's a player. Oh, he's a player. He's a player. What? He's a player.
Okay, we're back. I hope everybody can hear me. So I just ran out to my family to get a little bit of feedback on how it's going, and the main point being made is that I'm not able to keep everybody on topic very well. But I mean, I'm doing this for you guys. That's why I decided to do a live stream, because I want to make sure that you guys are getting the kind of videos that interest you. But we didn't really focus a whole lot on the whole world building. When has it been done? When have mistakes been made, and how could it have been fixed? So I would love to see some of your guys' examples of something that was done wrong in the world building, or just in general. Just let's open it up to all elements of a story. Something that was done wrong and what you would have done to fix it. And this would be preserving the adaptation as it is. So if it had to take the story in a new direction, or it's a very loose adaptation, like, let's keep it kind of the way that it is, but fix whatever it did that broke it, so to speak. Let's see here. Click the like button. Jeez, don't make me yell. Oh, you know what? I actually have a little thing for that. I made that. The Sword and the Pen Reflections. I've got to go to sleep. Oh, all the best for the rest of the live stream. If you want to get into Discworld, I think you'll like Equal Right or Guards. I've heard about Guards. Well, good night, Winter Rose. Thank you for coming. Hey, Ava Dementia, you're here. Summit, you can hear. Yes, everybody can hear. Tatoes. Hey, Wendy. Superman Returns had a crappy Superman costume. You would just fix the costume. I heard rumors, I don't know if it's true, but this was what was going around when Superman Returns came out, that there were certain parts of his costume that had to be reduced in post because they thought it would be too distracting to an audience. I don't know if that's true, but it certainly made me laugh. I think the Ender's Game movie cast kids that were too old. Okay, that is, I agree that you wanted to have younger kids. However, I don't think you would have found actors who were as capable of doing the performance that we got in the movie at the younger age. So Ender was, 11, I think? 10 or 11? Was he younger than that? No, he was younger. He was very, very young when he was recruited and brought up to the battle school. And he's there for years. And he grows quite a bit. I think that they put him at an older age because, first of all, you want to have him at the age that he's going to be by the end. Otherwise, what he has accomplished is going to be a little harder to believe, at least for most audiences. You're not inside of a child's head. Watching them from the outside, maybe you could do narratives or voiceover narration so we know how he thinks, but that's kind of a cheap trick. If there's a way to avoid doing that, you'd want to try to steer clear of that. But I think they had picked the older actors because they wanted to make sure that their actors were going to be capable of portraying the characters in a way that's believable for the scenario that they're in. Their genocide is one of the subjects of that story, and the main character is deeply, deeply affected by it. And, imagine Daniel Radcliffe in the very first Harry Potter movie. Do you think he would have been capable of that? I doubt it. And I think that the young man that they got, I can't remember his name, did a decent job. And they did what the writer wanted, which was to have no romances in it. because that would have been a distraction and it wouldn't have been something that the kids are thinking about. But even though they aged up the kids, they kept the romance out. And I thought that was a smart decision, because changing the dynamic of characters can have a big effect. You know, you turn a friendship into a romance and suddenly it changes how they interact going forward. Are you watching House of the Dragon? I watched the first one, the first season, and I liked it. It was more like, it was a bit, I'm not going to say boring, but it just wasn't, it didn't grip me the way the Game of Thrones series did. And I think I know why. So I've been theorizing, why did it not grip me like the other one did? And I think that's because in the Game of Thrones series, which follows the books, at least the earlier season follows them mostly closely, they're very distinct characters with very clear goals and flaws, and they're all so different from each other, and you get really interesting dynamics. And you know, like, what happens if we throw Arya and the Hound together? You know, what about Arya and what was the sister's name, the other sister? I can't remember her, the one that I can't stand during the first few seasons. What about when the two of them are together? You know, there's all kinds of interesting dynamics that happen when you have really distilled personalities and really specific goals and they suddenly meet. And that made Game of Thrones on a scene by scene basis so engaging, so interesting. I just wanted to see what happened when certain characters met. And I didn't feel that in House of the Dragon. And I think it's because a lot of their goals and intentions are sort of obscure or not super well defined. And the characters themselves, I don't see them so distinct from each other. And I'm not saying that they all feel like the same character. I'm just saying that there's no real standout. Like, where is our Tyrion? Where is our I don't know, just pick any of the characters from the original series, and like, they're very distinct personalities, very distinct goals, and that makes them so interesting. I missed a couple. They were too obsessed with recreating the Game of Thrones structure instead of leaning into the strengths of Lord of the Rings. Are you talking about House of the Dragon? Save Yourself says, the Fallout show threw out a lot of staples of the world. The reason for the nuclear war being Vaultco winning capitalism versus China land grabbing Alaska. Okay, I'm sure that was done for political reasons. I know that there's a lot of pressure from China to not criticize them in film. We saw that created some controversy in Maverick. Very interesting that what happens when you don't bend to that demand. The reason for nuclear war being Vaultco winning capitalism. Okay, yeah, I enjoyed Fallout. I did not play the video games, but I loved the show. I thought it was so fun. It had so much in it. I know a lot of people were really irritated by, I can't remember the name of the dude, but he grew. They started him at a kind of an obnoxious, not very honorable character, and they grew him into an honorable character. And that's what you do in writing. You don't have to like everybody at the beginning, but you have to see that they have potential for, if they're a hero that we're supposed to like eventually. From the very beginning, you have to do what's called Save the Cat. Actually, I have a new client who really loves the Save the Cat beat sheet and is trying to follow it pretty closely. And Save the Cat is it's a book series on how to write a story. And it's got it for screenwriting, and it's got it for novels, and then, different genres of novels. For the Save the Cat title itself refers to when you have a character that we should be rooting for, even if they're not likable in the beginning. We need to like them or see that they have potential for goodness. So what you do is, very early in the story, have them do something that lets the reader or the viewer know that is somebody who I can see the potential for good, and like have them save a cat or something. So I don't know how the heck did that come up? I don't remember. Somehow I read something here. simple fix. Find a dozen of 6 to 9 year olds that you can act like adults would be hard. Yeah, it was a very large cast of kids populating the battle school. Blood and cheese in House of the Dragon has caused a stir, but it may be too soon to discuss. I'm going to jump ahead to Evelyn Sylvia. I think Avatar could have made more scenes of the main trio together to build up their dynamic and make it stronger so that when Toph comes in, we can see how it changes. I agree with that. And I know I've been slow putting out my Avatar videos because I was so sick, but that was going to be something that I discussed in the next video because you had like 6 episodes. I think it was 6. It was either 6 or 7 from the animation were compressed. Like I can tell they really tried to not cut anything. I watch the live action and I go, there was a major effort to include as much of the original show as possible. And that ended up backfiring because it did take away from the focus on the individual characters. I think slowing things down would have been good, but we would have had to cut out an episode. And I know people go, oh, well, it's got the same runtime as the animation. And I've said this before, and I'm saying it again. Live action moves at a slower pace than animation, especially children's animation. Actually, not all animation, just children's animation. If we were to move at if we did a shot-by-shot redo in live action of the animation, it would feel ridiculous. It would not feel good at all. You need more time to breathe in certain situations. And you need to expand things. Can't have characters just go through a change at the drop of a hat. It feels very kid-ish. And Avatar, the animation, is actually very well-developed arc. The story is with all the characters. And so to play it off like little kidsy like that, I don't think would do the result of the show. I don't think it would do it justice. So I think that, I don't remember what the point exactly was I was getting to that. Sometimes I get off, my head just goes in this direction and I kind of follow it. But yeah, I think that they should have had more scenes together with just the main trio, and for exactly the reason that you're saying. Have you eaten, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip. Going to the next highlight. Remember, if you want it directed to me, highlight it. If I had to fix Wheel of Time, I would focus on how the world is in an age of ignorance and cast doubt on what they've established, then move more towards book lore. I like that. No, that's a really good... So what you're saying is where there are assumptions about the way that the world is and what's been going on and what's going to be happening, but then the kids, I think we're talking about the kids especially, start to learn what the truth is, and that sort of opens them up to what the world is actually like, and they have to deal with things that are not as they expected. I like that. Next one, Thai Buddha. Maze Runner is a good example of changing the movie. The original books are really disturbing. They removed some things to fit the more young adult audience. That's a good decision there. If you have material that is clean enough for kids to watch, but mature enough that adults will enjoy, I mean, that's the widest audience. That's the whole range. That's adults, kids, teenagers. I don't know why you wouldn't do that all the time. Let's see. I think the main... I think I skipped one. BSR says, Game of Thrones is an entertaining soap opera. House of the Dragon is a dry drawing room style drama. It does feel that way for sure. It is dry. But you know what? The last 10 seconds, or I don't know if it was 10 seconds actually, it's been a while since I've watched it, but the last little bit of it, which I'm not going to spoil, but when the big thing happens right at the end, I was like, this is what I've been waiting for. And now the season is over. Fantastic. Okay, skipping ahead. Toba says, my personal hang-up with why House of the Dragon is that I don't want to root for anyone. Yeah, they're all just awful. Yeah, okay, so in the original series, we are very much on Daenerys' side as a victim who we want to see become the leader and the doer. And Jon Snow is the noble heart, he's always going to do what's morally right. It gives you some range in characters. Again, it has to do with the I'm going to say diversity of personality. that makes it so interesting to watch. Toba Tywin is an awful person. Oh, Tywin is an awful person, but he was often rooted for just for sheer competency. Yeah, he really should have won Game of Thrones. All right, skipping a little bit. I feel like a lot of my issues I have with modern shows are more structure and dialogue rather than world building. So many characters just state their feelings. Yes, this is what I'm talking about by a lot of shows that we have, I think, can do with just a few little changes. I mean, very superficial things. I'm not always completely changing a story, but little tiny tweaks here and there. And what you're saying right there, characters just stating their feelings, I see it a lot too. I also see a lot of just telling us what's going on in the story. And that's not entertaining to watch. You don't get invested. You're not experiencing something with your characters. And that's what makes a journey of a character in a story so engaging, is that we are with them. You want to feel the emotion with them. I mean, how many of us felt our hearts breaking when Sam was swimming out to Frodo in the Peter Jackson movies, and the very first one, like, I'm coming with you. Like, oh my gosh, I was just like, oh, please, Frodo, go back and get him. Like, I'd been through all of the heartbreak and with them, seeing the fellowship breaking up and the pressure being too much and Sam just always being there for him. Like, I felt all of it. Let's see, Shy. Yeah, but watching him play the game is like, okay, skipping. Gotta get to highlighted stuff. While I enjoy the live-action Cowboy Bebop, it might have done better if they explored new stories rather than copying the original almost scene for scene. Ooh, I kind of like that idea, like an inspired by this world or other tales of what was his name? Oh my gosh. I watched the animation and I watched like 3 or 4 episodes of the live action, and I kind of went just... The mood was not there. And Cowboy Bebop is a mood. Katya, thank you. $2. Talk about rings of poo-poo before Amazon hides it. Yeah. Oh, you sent it twice. Wow. I don't know if you meant to do that. But thank you, Katya. Rings of Power. I filmed a video for it, watching the first episode just to talk about it. And there was so much in Rings of Power, and it's clearly meant to be a prequel to the movies. I know that they're taking stuff from the books and trying to adapt it. They're also doing their own things, and they're also breaking some lore. But if they're just trying to capture the world of Middle-earth that we saw in the movies, there's one thing that was distinct about Rings of Power, or about Lord of the Rings, that I felt was missing from Rings of Power. And that is the wonder of a truly bad guy who is powerful and coming after them, and also a truly good place as well. And I saw that just in the first 5 minutes of the first episode with Valinor. So I don't think they should have shown Valinor at all. I know that Tolkien has written lore for it, but it is heaven on earth, essentially. It is this pure, perfect place. There's no corruption. If there is, it is cast out. Like the elves, her brother, what they didn't explain in the show Rings of Power. Now, I'm not a Tolkien lore expert, just so you know. I've only read the 4 main books, and the last time was like 7 or 8 years ago, and I've read them many times, but I've watched the movies a bunch of times, the Peter Jackson trilogy, the Lord of the Rings one. But yeah, I've read the fandom wiki, and I've watched video essays on the lore because I wanted to know more about it. But essentially, my understanding is that Valinor should seem kind of mysterious. It's a place that we can't imagine on Earth. And her brother, when they went to go chase down Morgoth, they didn't just leave. I'm pretty sure that they were kicked out of Valinor because they were like, vengeance, we're going to go and get Morgoth for extinguishing the light of Valinor. And they're told to get out. And so that's why they leave. It's not necessarily we're going to go hunt them down. This is why it's such a big deal to be invited back to Valinor. But anyway, so what I'm getting at there is that the wonder of Valinor is lost. Also, the first thing we see of it is a kid being bullied. How is that a perfect world? That's when she's going back to Valinor. I'm like, why would you want to go back to a place that was so miserable for you? We only saw you being bullied there. It didn't look like paradise. Let's see. Death Note anime was a really good show until they started creating episodes outside of material so Light could lose rather than letting him win. Okay, so I was reading Death Note when it was first released, like when it came out, because I had never read a manga before, and everybody was talking about it, and I was like, okay, I'll give it a try, and I loved it. I don't remember all of the details, but I did check out the Japanese live action. It's like a two-parter movie, and I liked how that ended. I liked that they killed both of them, the two foes, at the same time. Oh, sorry, spoilers. Which is not what happened in the manga. I remember, yeah, okay, you're right. I remember him going on. But I'm sorry, I just made a big spoiler there. That was it's still really interesting to read if you want to check out. It's very engaging. Like, it's a page turner for sure. Death Note was such a page turner. I've completely lost track of all my notes, like the segments that we were supposed to be doing. Should I even look at what we had left on there? I wanted to talk about world building in an adaptation that was done right. I think I already said, did I already say this? What were some changes that were done right? And discussing honoring versus accuracy. I don't know if it's always clear to everybody when they see something that's not accurate and they say, oh, it's a terrible adaptation. I wonder if they've considered, is it honoring the source material though? And that is, there has to be exceptions made when you're adapting a story, especially for film. Like if you're going from books to film or animation to film or video game to film, you have to make some changes. But as long as the changes are done in the spirit of what's already in the source material, like enhancing that or expanding that in some way or condensing it so that it, or just making it so it does something that it's already doing even better or at least the same, that's honoring the source material. You're not adding something else in, you're not cutting something out that's essential, and it's not accurate, but it's still honoring the source material. And in my book, if you can't adapt everything, that's fine. I forgive that quite often. As long as if it's an adaptation meant to represent the source material, it is honoring the source material. That's what matters to me. That's why I loved Dune so much. I know a lot of people had complaints about Chani. I didn't mind it because everything else, first of all, was so good, and there were a lot of changes. But they highlighted some of Chani's stuff, and I think it was to give her character a little bit more range, because she starts out very positive with, she starts out rough with Paul, and then more positive towards the middle, and then at the end, it's like, you're doing the thing I was hoping you wouldn't do. And in the books, she just kind of is like, I'm your wife, at least in the first book. I like a story that lets the tension build, that doesn't answer everything right away, that gives me food for thought, that has nuance. I don't want everything IMM'd. I'm not sure what that says. Explained. I don't want things explained either. Oh, I got to put an ad in. I just got a note from Google. Ad is going right here. And apparently an ad went in. That's kind of in the same discussion as leaving wonder open. And it's like what I was talking about with Rings of Power, where, showing Sauron as a man, and I think it's supposed to be during his phase where he is tempted to be good again. I feel like this has diminished who Sauron is in the later stories, because now we know he was some guy. And for me, that, you don't want to diminish your characters ever. This is actually why I think Maverick was such a huge success, is that our main guy was still the same guy. He was just older, and he was still the top, still kicking ass, so, yeah, I don't want everything spelled out either. And, like in, Star Wars, okay? when the prequels came out and I went and saw the first episode 1 in theaters, my mom let me skip school to go see it with my cousin, my sister and my cousin. It was so funny. We were the only kids in the theater and we cracked up when Darth Maul fell down the hole and his body fell apart. All the adults that were sitting behind us were annoyed. But I thought the Metachlorians were such a mistake. And I don't know if that's canon. I don't know if that is Star Wars canon, but I do not like it because then it's this scientific thing instead of this mysterious energy that can be harnessed but never fully understood. I like okay, skipping. Oh, text. Where did it go? Where did everything go? Okay, I have lost where I was in the chat. I'm gonna scroll back. I think. Okay, I have lost a bunch of the chat. I'm so sorry. I can't scroll back any further. I feel that BSR says, I feel like a lot of my issues I have with modern shows are more structure and dialogue rather than world building. So many characters. Oh, we already read that. I never read that. Okay, all right, here we are. Wes Stewart, $10. Thank you. Big fan here. Just want to show my support. Well, gosh, thank you so much. Every little bit helps. Yeah, for folks who don't know, my Wheel of Time videos don't make much money. Like, none of them do. I make like $40 in the first 2 weeks, and then after that, it's like pennies. At least since last November, there was a change to how much people get paid by YouTube. So I was like, oh, that's great. So my patrons, you guys are making this all worthwhile. Best bit of Rings of Power is Elrond's hair. Yeah, he looks like one of the Backstreet Boys. Or one of the new kids on the block, I guess. They had more volume back in the 90s. What would you say is one of your favorite obscure properties and why? Mine would be Legend of the Seeker. Okay, that's the one with the Sword of Truth. Is that considered obscure in epic fantasy? I don't know. My most obscure favorite, again, favorites are a word that I don't enjoy putting out there because there's so many that I just love. But I like Michelle Paver's Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. It's on my shelf. And it is one of the most interesting fantasies I've read. It's for kids. It's like middle grade. And it is about it's like caveman days, okay, Neolithic era. And the writer has done a huge amount of research on what life really was like then and what are some of the artifacts that we've picked up so we know specifically what kinds of tools these people were using. But it's a young man and his spiritual world, like his religion, it's a folk religion, is to him, it is something magical. It is something divine. It is something of a spiritual nature. And when he sees the northern lights, he sees, the spirits dancing or something. And anything that happens in life, like when a plague starts spreading, they think it's the ghost worms that are spreading it, and then he has to go and he has to slay a demon in order to stop the spread of the disease. But as the reader, a modern reader, you're reading that going, these aren't miracles, these aren't demons, these aren't spirits, this is just the world seen through the eyes of somebody who doesn't understand it at the scientific level that we understand it or that we're aware of today. And I love that. There's also a wolf character in there, and it has a POV. So you're in the boy's head and you're in the wolf's head. And when you're in the wolf's head, if you were going to hear the thoughts of an actual dog or an actual wolf, I think this is how it would be. Like, it hasn't said or done, it doesn't speak, but it's got thoughts. And it's never once thought or done anything that made me think that's too intelligent for this creature. That's not what a wolf does. And it's very sweet. It's very endearing, a great adventure. Highly recommend it. Michelle Paver's The Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. We are so off topic. I don't even sure if there was a point in me trying to create a topic. Maybe next time I'll just say general topic and we'll just like, if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it. I really wanted Rings of Power. This is BSR. I really wanted Rings of Power to focus on a group questing for something. Game of Thrones has made quests uncool for some reason. Really? I think it depends on what the quest is, and I think it depends on what happens in it. I thought I would be tired of quest stories as well, or heroes' journeys that follow it so closely, where you're going to follow the young man who is taken out of his home and, whatever. Then I read the Ember Blade by Chris Wooding, which is exactly that, but I was so engaged. He has a modern voice, very beautiful descriptions. It's an old world story, but a modern voice and a modern focus. So we're getting a lot of attention to feelings and thoughts, so we can see the internal growth more on the front of the page. And I enjoy it so much. Game of Thrones making a quest uncool. I don't think that there's anything that can be outdated. It just has to be done in a way that is engaging to a current audience. You are quite open about your ordered perfectionist style, but you seem to enjoy free form riffing. Go with it. I know. Well, I'm you know what? I'm a perfectionist by trade. That's what I do. So it's hard to turn it off. Trip, thank you. $5. Such a great first live stream, Amber. I'm so happy so many people are here for you. I know, I am too. I can't believe it. I got 85 people watching right now. Pretty good. Skipping ahead to the next highlight. Avatar combining some of the chapters into one show was done pretty well. I actually was impressed with, in particular, episode 3 and 4. I don't think it was the right thing to do for the pacing, but I was impressed that they managed to tweak these stories. There's Boomy, Jet, and the Mechanist, and then you've got, Secret Tunnel, and then you've got, oh my gosh, I've forgotten which ones are all in there. But they combined all these episodes into a two-parter, but just in that first one, it's at least 3 just for the gang. But they found a theme that is kind of there for all 3 of those main characters, like Boomy, Jet, and the Mechanist are all major players, active players during war. And what happens to them and how they react is the theme. Like, spoilers for Avatar, Jet, he becomes basically the rebel, right? He's a freedom fighter. But he takes it to the extreme where he's now going to go out and kill good people because he's angry and wants revenge. And he says, well, I'm setting all these people free. And I was like, but who are you freeing if you're killing good people? That's beside the point. Now, Boomy's character was changed the most. And I actually was okay with that. I was not married to the character Boomy since he's kind of a minor outside role. I know he's a beloved role, but as long as the character ended in the same place that he needs to be where he is in the animation, like he needs to be on Aang's side and he needs to be a little kooky, I'm okay with that. And they got him there. So when people say that the live action has ruined the animation, I'm not seeing that. And I look for that sort of thing. That I know that some people have accused me of being a shill. Like I thought very harsh on the first episode, the first season, what I've looked at so far. Avatar combining some of the chapters. Okay, read that. The 90s DC cartoons were a masterclass in distilling and improving source material in a new medium. You know what? I haven't really seen a whole lot of, I remember watching them like as a kid. I remember Batman for sure, but I wasn't like super into them. Was Gargoyles one of them too? I liked that show. Tiki Dale, $2. Thank you. What book series do you personally recommend? So many. I recommend so many, and it depends on what you're looking for. So, Tiki Dale, send me a highlighted question of what what particular series or style you want me to recommend. Hopefully it'll be one that I'm really familiar with. I'm not as well read as I should be because I spend so much of my time reading and writing, but mostly reading manuscripts, that by the time I'm free, I don't want to be sitting and reading. It hurts my eyes, gives me a headache, my neck hurts. So I listen to audiobooks a lot because that's the only way I can consume stories. Not the only way, but the main way I can. My favorite, for some reason, Evelyn, your question is not highlighted, or your comment. I think it's because you put spaces between each word in the Sword and the Pen reflections. My favorite change for Avatar was the 41st Division detail, and also the added scene between Aang and Zuko in that same episode. The 41st Division was so brilliant, and it really made the crew important. I loved that. That was a huge improvement, in my opinion. The scene with Aang and Zuko where they sit and they chat, I actually liked that too. I thought that they were due for a conversation. And again, this is an example of, in the animation, Aang says, do you think we could have been friends? Like, I used to have, a bunch of friends in the Fire Nation, and we'd have so much fun together. Do you think you and I would have been friends if situation was different? And Zuko says nothing and just firebends at him. And even though that's in character, in live action, you would have been wanting to see when the two of them have a conversation, and after Zuko has saved him but spent all this time chasing him down. And I think that this was a good moment to have that happen. They made it work because Zuko couldn't get up and do anything. Thai Buddha, holy moly, thank you so much. $100 for all the hours you put into watching Wheel of Time. Love your channel. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm not ever going to stop making my Wheel of Time reviews. I do enjoy when I have a finished product. I don't enjoy the process of, watching the show and doing the sitting and editing. But afterwards I go, okay, I'm pretty happy with what I put out. I always, I'm a perfectionist, so I always find things I'm like, we could fix this, but that's just me. I guess we're moving this conversation into the whole, it's open. I mean, it always has been. It's open for everybody. Whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about it. BSR, Disney's Tarzan is a great adaptation that honors the source material, but updates it based on what we've learned about gorillas. Kerchak was the villain in the book. Oh, really? I didn't know. That is funny. Well, wait. I mean, he's the villain. He's the villain in he's a villain. He's an adversary, but not necessarily a villain to Tarzan in the animation. Don't forget, guys, to highlight your comment, you have to include the tag at the Sword and the Pen Reflections with no spaces in it. Tiki Dale, how do you feel when show writers completely ignore or miss how time passes in a show in relation to distance traveled and other characters in different locations? You know what? I have rarely seen it done well that I can think of. It does make it feel like there's no spatial awareness, and that removes the realism of a situation. And again, yeah, everybody goes, well, but it's fantasy, But the thing is we enjoy it if we're immersed in it, and nothing stands out as blaringly off about it that we go, I can't enjoy it anymore because I'm not immersed. I'm stepping out of it now because I'm so bothered by this thing, it doesn't make sense anymore. That was a big issue in the Game of Thrones later seasons, where everybody was complaining that, it takes absolutely no time at all to travel to all these places. Well, I think the main reason that irritated people, other than the fact that, it's not physically possible to do some of the things that they were doing in the amount of time that they seemed to be doing it in. But it's like a kind of retconning, I guess, from the past, where we saw that it was important that certain things took a long time to do. It wasn't an easy journey to go from Winterfell to King's Landing. It was it took a month. And if you remove that, then in later seasons, it just feels cheap. So, I mean, we could talk more about that probably when we have a little bit more time. We're getting close to the end here, guys. Let's see. Oh, skipped ahead. It seems like when I'm scrolling and somebody comments, it makes my comment thing jump. Not great. I'm not 100% sure how to say your name. Sarab Shringarpure? I'm not sure how to say the name, but this is your comment. Episode 3's combinations was a great idea, but the execution was just okay. Seemed too forced. Yeah, I felt exactly the same way. I feel like there were a lot of good ideas that I again, didn't see anything that was destroying the story, the characters, or the world. But it was, I think, an attempt to include too much. I think when you have too much going on, it feels like this is just an action show. But Avatar is very much a character show. We love the action. We love the comedy. We love all of it. The character arcs the character arcs, though, are the most important thing. Zuko's character, I think they actually represented his storyline pretty good. And they cut stuff out. Like, they cut the duel with Zhao out. But yeah, combining those 3 episodes into that one right there, it was a great idea. But yeah, it was just too much. I think it was just too much going on. That should have been a Katara episode, in my opinion. So episode 2 was a Sokka episode. Episode 3 should have been primarily a Katara episode, and it kind of was, but we did get more with, we got a bunch with Aang, and we got a bunch with, not a whole lot with Sokka, but I felt like we could have had Aang and Bumi in episode 4, and just had that be the focus there. I'm gonna have to go more into detail on that. There's a lot. I have so much to say on everything like that they did. I see how it makes sense, but yeah, the time spent on it was less than it needed to be. And the only way to fix it without expanding episodes would have been to cut out some storylines and figure out some other way to do it. Thou art a lady of impeccable taste for liking gargoyles. Yeah, it was, one of those cartoons that's on, you watch it and you go, I'm in. Who is your favorite character on that show? It's been way too long. I've not even thought about gargoyles until literally this conversation in maybe like 35 years. No, not 35, but 30 years. Yes, DC animation. Was it that long ago? Almost 30 years. I don't know. Somewhere around that. You know what I really loved? I loved Toonami. Have you ever read The Dragonbone Chair? I've been asked this so many times. Sizer, thank you so much for the $10. I have not read The Dragonbone Chair. I want to. I know it's a big one that people really, really enjoy, and I'd love to get to it. I have to get through Wheel of Time first, though. John hates this stupid. Hey, Amber, thanks for all the work you do. Well, thank you for being here. What time are we at? Oh my gosh, we got like 3 minutes left. We're going to have to end this in a few minutes. I'm going to zing through the rest of these messages here. In the original book, Clayton is Tarzan's cousin. Really? If you wanted a good example of world building and like sci-fi, please read Christopher Ruscio's Sun Eater. It makes space feel big in a way nothing else has. I'll have to remember that. Sun Eater. Thank you for strengthening all of our parasocial relationships with you. You're welcome. You've come such a long way from Wheel of Time, Season 1, Episode 1, where you were so wide-eyed and optimistic. Yeah, I go into every show like that. I never intend to review a show going, I'm just going to slam this, because that's not fun for me. I would rather it's mostly good with some things that need to be fixed and then talk about those things. But with Wheel of Time, it got to a point where just the dialogue was so bad. I couldn't, when it's so much that's wrong, it's hard to forgive anything. And it got to that point with me. With Wheel of Time. PBVQ4, $20, thank you. I thought I turned the volume off on my phone. Go away. probably a robocall anyway. Get your end of stream superheats in, folks. Great first stream, Amber. Thank you very much. And thank you for the 20 Canadian dollars. Pink Peonies, $50. My goodness, thank you so much, Pink Peonies. You guys, seriously, I did not expect that many super chats in here. What's been your favorite of your reviews thus far with your YouTube channel? And what's the review for episode? And what's the review or episode that you think more people should check out? Probably the one where I did show, my favorite show to review. Like I enjoy looking at Avatar the most because it has the kind of issues that I see as like, these could be fixed and we could move on and fix those, and it'll be a great season 2 and season 3 if we fix these things. Wheel of Time has become hell, but my favorite review episode is the one I think where it's either the one where I'm wearing black and I drink the 5-hour energy, because I laughed so hard when Lan teleported. Either that or season 2, episode 1. I don't know, one of those two. Probably season 2, episode 1 has the punchiest start. I think I might have done my best editing in that episode. What's been your... Oh, I already read that one. This has been a lot of fun, so thanks for doing it. Apologies for hurting cats. It happens. Professional question. Do you only freelance edit novels, or do you edit comics and graphic novels as well? Never edited a comic or graphic novel with the exception of a script for one. My friend Randy is writing he's producing a graphic novel, and I have reviewed the first volume, I believe. It's kind of a developmental edit for that one. Just minor. Like he's a very clean writer, so there's not a whole lot to edit for his work. Professional. Okay, we're going to wrap this up now. So love what you do. Keep it coming. You've come so far from early videos with Randy. Has been great to follow. You too, Tiki Dale. Thank you. Let's see. Have you seen Frieren anime? No, but Murphy Napier, who is a booktuber, and she also does One Piece videos and some manga and anime. She just came out with a video that said she absolutely adores it. And I trust her judgment on a lot of things. So that suddenly came onto my radar for the first time literally this morning. Mr. Benair, thank you. Is A before the $? Is that Australian dollars? I don't know. I think probably. I first found you from your Willow review. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for your stream. Gosh, thank you so much for coming and for the 5 Australian bucks, if that's what that is. Thank you. When will the next stream be and what will it be about? Okay, so I'm thinking about doing this every other week. And as far as what it will be about, I think I'd like to take it to the next element, which is characters, specific character arcs that we love, that sort of thing. You know, when is it done right? When is it done wrong? What do we want to see? That kind of thing. And I'll come up with a better plan for it by then. But yeah, probably 2 weeks from today, which would be July 5th. Maybe I won't do it during the 4th of July weekend. Maybe I'll skip a week and go to the next week, which would be the 12th. But anyway, so quick reminder to all of my patrons. First of all, thank you to all of my patrons. But a reminder that I have a movie day tomorrow in the Discord. And I guess we're watching Cloak and Dagger, unless somebody will please vote in Tremors. But... No, I haven't seen Cloak and Dagger, but I've seen Tremors a million times and I love it. Yeah, anyway, so I think we're going to have to close this up now here. So I'll just read a couple more comments and then we'll go ahead and put all of this to rest. This was great. Don't let the internet overwhelm you. You're killing it. Thank you so much, you guys. Tony Hank says, thanks, Amber. Oh, Save Yourself says, yep, Aussie dollar ruse. Taters says, awesome first show. Thank you so much, Taters. I wish we could have talked more about Star Wars, because I could not believe that 3rd episode, but maybe I'll just leave that to the pros. Go watch Disparu. He's probably tearing it to shreds. I have no idea. All right, I think that's it. I'm very tired, but it was really fun. So I hope that you had fun too, and we'll maybe get to do this again. We'll get to do this again in maybe 2 weeks or possibly 3. Just watch my channel for the updates on that. Anyway, please like, subscribe, and comment, even if it's just with an emoji. It's a free way to support the channel. Or if you're feeling super generous, check out my Patreon or my Ko-fi, or you can hit the money heart thanks button down below. And I guess that's it. Be good to yourself.